not matter. What would you say to that? Would you say I'm crazy? This is a video platform. This is YouTube. It's literally made for video. And here's the thing. You're absolutely correct, obviously, but your video is not going to be watched unless these three things are in place and working for you and working for those who are actually going to be watching it. So we have to look at the human psychology. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just doing this based on, I'm saying this based on my experience. And when I mention this to everybody I talk to, they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. That is exactly how it works. So when you're posting and you're creating videos for your YouTube channel, you have to think of it from not just your client's perspective, but from a human perspective. Meaning, think of how your user behavior is when you get on YouTube. When you go to look for information, you are going there with intention, with purpose, and probably some determination. You're determined to find an answer. You're determined to find something to entertain you. Whatever that purpose is, you're determined to find something, right? So you're going to type in whatever your keywords are, and then you're going to look at the very first thing is when you're doing your search results, or even if you're just looking at your homepage, you are going to look at the visual component of what that is, correct? Right? So kind of think right now, like, how do I go through and determine what videos I want to watch? And if you haven't paid attention to that, then I encourage you to do that today. If you're at a desktop and you can pull up, a window right now, go ahead and do it while I'm talking. And the reason why I say this is because we are visual beings. So when we're searching for information on YouTube, even if it's on Google, we're still looking for that visual component that captures our attention. Then we read what that visual piece is, right? And it could be if you're scrolling, even if you're looking at your homepage, you've got options, right? So you're presented with a visual, I guess, display of different options. And so when you're looking at that, you're looking at what colors stand out to you, what faces stand out to you, what text on screen stands out to you. You might look at the timestamp of that video to say, how long is this? Is this something I want to watch? If it's a short form video or YouTube short versus a long form video on YouTube, then that might help you make that decision as well. But you're really looking at the visual component. So that's the very first thing that you're looking at. And that has nothing to do with your video yet. Hey there, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So you're looking at it from that perspective, and you haven't even gotten to the video component yet, right? You're looking at the visual piece of your video. So the thumbnail literally is the most important piece of your video. Not your video, but the thumbnail. And then there's something else even before you get to the video. So your thumbnail really becomes the most important piece of your overall video strategy. And that's why, thank you for subscribing, appreciate it. That's why Mr. Beast, if we all know who he is, and if you haven't heard of him before, I highly recommend you go look him up, but he is the #1 YouTuber. And the reason being is that he's phenomenal entertaining people, but from his perspective, when he's creating videos, he hires individuals to specifically create YouTube thumbnails for his videos. And he has them create multiple versions of them. Why? Because he knows the importance of a visual piece of real estate on YouTube. He knows that we're visual beings, and he knows that the more effective and more impactful, more intriguing that thumbnail is, the more likely it is that those people who are interested in what he's talking about are actually going to click on that particular thumbnail. Or if they don't click on it right away, the second piece that has nothing to do with the actual video itself is the title. So if you've got an effective title with your thumbnail, then that's going to be the second thing that people look at, right? So they're scanning, they see a thumbnail, they click on it, or they're like, oh, this is really interesting. Then they look over at the title. And so if the title supports what the thumbnail is, creating interest or intrigue in, that will determine whether or not they actually click on that video. So it needs to be descriptive enough that they understand what's going to be included in the video. Plus it needs to be optimized for search. And then to make views, yes, you have to create thumbnail. You don't have to create thumbnails, but if you don't add thumbnails to your videos, you're not going to get that many views. So that's just part of how the algorithm works, is that it rewards videos that are going to be able to not only be presented well, but those that are going to be presented well and they're going to be able to like click through on them. So I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this yesterday, and it actually surprised me. But she was saying that when she uploads her videos, that she just uses one of the 3 thumbnails that YouTube recommends for her video. So she'll pick the one that she thinks is best. And so when you do that, if you're not doing text on screen or doing anything else, there's no other visual component tied to that. And so it's not going to be as interesting or as intriguing or capture people's attention. It'll actually become more muted. It'll actually just kind of you'll get scrolled past instead of stopping the scroll. So adding a thumbnail, it also gives you an element of not only creating the intrigue and being more creative, but you have that opportunity to really tap into how you can capture someone's attention when they are scrolling through the search results, or if they're looking at, their desktop, their homepage of YouTube when they first click on it or first log in. So the thumbnail is extremely important. It's the number one important thing of your entire video. And then the second thing is the title. So of course you're optimizing that with your keywords. You're making it intriguing. And there's different, I don't know how many different ones. I use vidIQ, their Chrome extension, which is free. You can just download it. And when you're uploading your videos and you're typing in your title, it actually gives you a score. And it'll tell you whether or not it's a good title. But not only saying, hey, your title scores 55 out of 100, it also gives you 3 or 4 suggestions on other titles, and then gives you a score for those. So it helps you identify which ones are actually going to be better titles based on the keywords and the information that you're providing in. So it's a really good resource if you're not real sure like what title you should create for that particular video. You just need to feed it that starting point, and then it will help you figure out like which one is going to be the best one. Now, of course, you don't have to go with that one, but if you're struggling with how to come up with titles, it's a really good resource for helping you overcome that struggle. And again, the title doesn't have anything to do with your video yet, right? So we haven't even gotten to the video because you have those 2 pieces that will either make or break your video. So knowing the thumbnail and then having that title that ties into whatever the intrigue is that you're creating with your thumbnail will help those viewers understand what they can expect in your video. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. So the third component, of course, is the initial part of the video. It's the hook. And the hook is the first 15, we'll say 5 to 15 seconds of a video. And the that you're just like, in-home garden within 1 hour, start an in-home garden within an hour. And then in your title, you're like, harvest your first vegetable within 7 days. And I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. I can do it in an hour. So it's super quick. And then in 7 days, you're telling me I can have vegetables. Now, none of this is probably true. I'm totally making this up. So if anybody's watching is like, you can't do that, like, you're probably right. I'm just using it as an example. Creating the intrigue, right, would be the, creating an in-home garden within an hour, and then harvesting vegetables in 7 days. I don't even think that's possible, but we'll just say it is. And so you've got those 2 pieces. Now the third piece, it is the initial part of your video, and it is looking at those first 5 to 15 seconds. And the reason why that's so important is that you need to, as the creator of that video, you need to deliver on what you're talking about, or at least referencing in the thumbnail and the title. So in this example, we're talking essentially about how to create an in-home garden quickly and probably effortlessly. There's probably not too much involved. And so with that, those first 5 to 15 seconds need to give me some sort of information to tell me that, yes, this is actually a video about how I can create an in-home garden in an hour or about an hour, and that I can harvest vegetables within around 7 days, right? So if I listen to those first 5 to 15 seconds and it's talking about how to pick out your, the most comfortable, stylish shoes, I'm going to be like, what? There's no correlation whatsoever. and you aren't delivering in your video in those first 5 to 15 seconds on what you promised me in the thumbnail and the title. And so that hook then is like your third part of like how you can make or break your video. So if you do deliver on what you promised in the thumbnail and the title in that hook, that first 5 to 15 seconds of your video, and you follow through with a hook that says something like, what if I told you that you could have all the vegetables you need to make a delicious, amazing salad within 7 days? Would you be willing to try it? Oh, and hey, by the way, you can do this with just on a lunch hour. And so you've already kind of drawn people in with promising them something, thumbnail, title, and now you're telling them at the very beginning, like, here's what I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. So it's like that extra piece of intrigue in those first 5 to 15 seconds. And you're following through on what you promised me. So as a viewer who's interested in this title and this subject, and I'm interested in learning how to do this, I'm going to keep watching because you're telling me that's what you're going to talk about in this video. So that's where you need to then create the value points and talk through, like, whatever if you're going to talk about one thing, or if you're going to talk about the entire process or what it is. But you really need to follow through with that. Those first three components, thumbnail, title, and hook, are going to be the three components that make or break your video. If you can get past those first 15 seconds in your video and you've retained your viewers' attention, you have just created a major win, because that is really hard to do. And it's really important to do that research up front too, and not just pick up your phone and be like, okay, here's what I'm going to talk about today, and then just kind of go blank and just have no idea, because people pick up on that. And the user or viewer behavior is what's going to determine whether or not your video gets seen by other people. So that's how the algorithm taps into like the overall performance of your video. So when you're doing that let's just say you publish a video today at noon, like that first hour is the most important part of your video. Like, are people watching it? Are they watching it to the end? Are they liking your video? Are they engaging in the video? Are they leaving comments? Are they subscribing to your channel? Like, what activity is actually happening with your videos in that first hour? And then, it goes every hour after that first 24 hours of your video. And then really it's kind of out to 48 hours. But as you can imagine, like each hour that goes farther and farther, or, longer and longer away from your actual published time, you're going to get farther and farther away from the bigger impact that you can make on that video. And this is just talking initially, because I've had videos, and I know plenty of other people have had videos that they publish them, and then, it takes like, a week or a month or 3 months before it actually takes off. In fact, I had a YouTube short last month. Last month I did a personal challenge where I published one YouTube short every single day. I did miss a day, so I doubled up a different day to make sure I still had 30. And so there was one day, and I didn't even know it, because all of a sudden I saw my subscribers going up, and I'm like, what? I didn't even like pay attention. I was just like, oh, it must just be like kind of that momentum I had created by posting these YouTube shorts every single day. And so then I was just like, a few days went by, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, it took me a while, maybe it's because I'm blonde. I don't know. Too busy. I don't know. So I went to the analytics, and I had one of my YouTube shorts that just like popped off. And so it was 8 days after I had published it. So when I looked at the trend line, actually I included this in I think it was a YouTube short. Yeah, I think it was on like May 1st or May 2nd. I went ahead and published a YouTube short that kind of showed it, like the metrics and everything. So if you want to go take a look at that, that's on my channel. And it was really interesting because it was just like flat. I mean, it got some views. I can't remember if it was like 100, between 100 and 150 views like every day. And then like on day 8, it got like 30,000 views. And so I'm like, interesting. Like, I hadn't had that big of a jump before. I've had like, a couple of thousand before. This was like a major jump. And so when you look at the trend curve, it just like popped up, and then it kept kind of, trickling up, and then it's still kind of going up, but it's starting to plateau. But the reason why I share that with you is because it's important to watch and monitor what happens with your videos, like after you publish them. You don't have to like watch it constantly, but as long as you have your YouTube Studio app on your phone, and I make it a habit every day, like every morning, it's one of the first things that I do. I look at that to see if there's new comments, if there's, any issues, which there haven't been in forever. I did post a couple of videos way back when they were YouTube shorts, and I'd used audio from, I think it was Instagram Reels, and just had downloaded it from Instagram and uploaded it to YouTube Shorts. And then I got, like, I don't know if it was a copyright strike or something. It was actually muted. So if you go back and watch it, it's like there's no text on screen. So it's like you have no idea what I'm talking about because I uploaded a video that shouldn't have had that audio. So, so always look for that type of thing in the morning too. But it's important just to monitor your videos and, see what's working, see what's not working. And when you see something like that, obviously, go check it out and see what is actually creating that increase or that influx of whatever that activity is, whether it's views, subscribers, etc. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that up to talk with you guys about that. And let me know in the comments, do you have questions about thumbnails? I know there's, I've actually had a couple of conversations recently, actually this week. I've had a lot of conversations this week, but there were two in particular that kind of stand out where these individuals have had a lot of difficulty with creating thumbnails. So they can be a little challenging to create. But what I always recommend is to go and look at, it doesn't necessarily have to be your industry or your niche. If you just search and look for any industry, you can use the one I've been using for some reason, building an in-home garden, and look at the videos, look at the thumbnails, those videos that are actually performing well, like within the last 12 months, and just do like a deep dive and look at what is actually going on with this video. How effective is this thumbnail? Why would people want to click on this thumbnail, be interested in this thumbnail? And then looking at the title and be like, okay, how do these two tie together? So you really need to do like it's not a competitive analysis, but kind of do a deep dive. And, you pick how many videos that you want to do that for, because it might, vary depending on your industry, your time, because it can be time consuming. But it's a great place to start because there are videos that are already performing well. And when you can start to identify what those trends are or what those factors are that are helping them perform really well, then those are things that you can look at and say, how can I apply those to my videos? How can I make a thumbnail like that? And Mr. Beast, he's a great channel, a great person to go look at his videos, but just keep in mind, he pays tens and I don't know if it was hundreds, I am going to say tens of thousands of dollars for like one video where he's getting like, I don't know how many different thumbnails, but he's got the financial resources and the team where he can actually do that. But his thumbnails are very effective. His in particular, though, are really good for like the consumer. He's more entertainment. So it's a little bit different than if you're B2B like I am, because I work with other business coaches. I work with other business owners to help them grow their business on YouTube, or leverage YouTube to help them grow their business, I should say. So it's a little bit different, but you can still be creative because it's all about how can you stand out in the search results? How can you stop the scroll? And that does take time to take a step back and figure out, like, how can I create a thumbnail that's actually going to be effective? It's going to capture somebody's attention. Not only capture their attention with what's on it, but what text is on screen, or what story or curiosity is it creating that makes somebody want to say, I want to learn more. Like, this is what I was looking for. I'm really interested in finding out what this is. So when you look at it from that perspective, it may not help your design capabilities, because I'm not a designer. Like, I'm not a creative designer type person. I'm a creative thinker, not a creative like person, like using Canva. Super easy, but still, I struggle with designs, but it's a really good tool to do that with. So you can always use other channels and other people, even in your niche, to see like, how are they positioning this topic? Or I want to create a video about this. Let me see who else is doing that. And look at the videos that are performing well. Real quick, before I go, how you can tell if a video is performing well is if you look at the views of that video. If the number of views on that video are higher than the number of subscribers on that person's channel, that's a video that's doing really well. So that's just a little nugget of information. So if you're going to go do that research and you're going to filter your results on YouTube. Look at the last 12 months, and then as you're scrolling, look to see which ones have higher views on the videos than they do number of subscribers. Those are the videos that you're going to want to pay attention to. Okay? I appreciate you being here. If you're watching the replay, just put team replay or put replay in the comments. Let me know what questions you have, or if you're struggling with something in regards to your overall video production. It could be in the planning stage, it could be in the recording stage, it could be in the post-production where you're doing the editing and the publishing. Let me know that in the comments as well. I might be able to help you with that. And if you are interested in getting one of my free resources, I will include that in the description. It's not there right now because I just started the video. There's no thumbnail to this video yet, but when I get all of that updated, there will be. So I'll include a few free resources that you can access, and they'll help you out with your video planning. I've got one that helps you with identifying your ideal customer avatar, because that's really important, obviously, when you first get started. So those are two pieces that would be really interesting to you if you're getting started and you're like, I don't really know where to begin. Those are two things that are going to be really helpful for you if you're not sure where to begin. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.